This is my entry for the Let's Take a Glide StarSnap. For those of you who might not know, StarSnaps are a DreamSnap-like competition run by Mr. Star and Sky on his website Starlight Dreamers. This week's challenge was to design a scene based around a glider, and I admittedly got distracted by my character concept rather than focusing on letting the wings be the star of the shot. So, my character was supposed to be some sort of time guardian, and I wanted to do a split shot that showed the passes of time, one side being new and elegant and full of life, and the other side being old, broken down ruins. So I was grabbing items I could sort of mirror with an old versus new vibe, which did, admittedly, end up looking a bit like Zeus versus Hades instead. Now I knew I wanted to use the giant hourglass in the foreground of my shot, since it was supposed to be about the passage of time, trying to decide what columns I want to use on the right to mirror the ones on the left, and decided I liked the divine marble columns, though I wish they were a little wider to better match the size of the others. I knew I wanted to use the sand fountain for a Sands of Time kind of vibe, so I put it behind the hourglass, trying to figure out what layout I wanted to use, as I was hoping to be able to mirror the look on the opposite side, scooting the chair back a little to better fit the statues, trying to fit in more statues, but there wasn't that much room. I was looking for the masculine dancer statue to place opposite the feminine dancer statue, and considering any items that matched the look on that side. Considered the Oswaldian alarm clock, with a time vibe, but they didn't really match the look, so I wasn't sure about them. Back to looking for the statue. Grabbing more items that might work. Considered the musical mausoleum. I wasn't sure about it, so I just left it there for now. I liked the idea of using the stone vines, so I grabbed it and grabbed its mirror version and placed it by the column. Finally found the dancer I was looking for, and figured I should sort through some of the items before adding more. I liked the idea of using the sword and the stone, because I was hoping to use the broken time-bending sword to kind of mirror it, adjusting the angle of the items, scooting things forward a little, and trying to figure out where to line up the lion statues with the chair, as I didn't want to align evenly. Adjusting the other statues, and the columns, and the vines, trying to get a better angle, scooting the chair over to be less overlapping with the items behind it, moving the sword over to be less blocking, adjusting the other side's chair to mirror better, and scooting the columns a little, adding more sand fountains as I wanted to cut off the empty background, and liked the idea of having the falling sand, scooting the chair and the foreground columns on the left. Debated adding the underworld torch stand, but it was already feeling a bit too Zeus versus Hades, so I decided it probably wasn't a good idea. Added some thorn vines, and more stone vines on the other side. Back to the other side with more thorn vines. Debated adding some grass, but decided to go for pathing instead, and grabbed the golden opal road with porter to add to the right. And the sword and the stone didn't like pathing, moved it out of the way, and continued the pathing. Smoothing out the edges, trying to figure out if having the sword and stone is worth the messy pathing. Scooting it over a little so I can add a little more pathing. I wasn't really happy with how that looked, so I debated it while I evened out the placement of the items in the back. I decided I didn't like the broken path there, or the alarm clocks, so I got rid of them and moved the sword to the front. Filled in the path, adjusted the stone vine. Tried to scoot the sword closer, but couldn't really move it much. Got rid of some extra items, adjusting the sand fountains, and adding some more, as they weren't showing as well on the left. Checking if that helped. I figured I should probably add some pathing on the left, and this shot was done before the update, so pathing and thorn vines haven't learned to get along yet. So I ended up going with the Ancient's Road, hoping that since that one already has dirt poking through, it would feel less out of place to have patches of sand showing where the pathing couldn't go, and filled it in the best I could going around the thorn vines, checking how that's looking. Feeling better. I don't like the big patch of no path, but I can work with it. But I want to add path to the center area, and thought the blue bronze pathway could be cool. Moved the sword out of the way. Tried to get the path closer to the opal one, but it said no. Undid it, and filled it back in. Trying again. Trying to smooth it out and fill it in at an angle. I don't like the gap between the paths, but I can't get them any closer. So, adding more hourglasses to the foreground corners as I debate about it. And I thought it could be cool to try to add some falling sand to the foreground, so I added a sand fountain to the front. Getting into position, checking how it looks. I can't see the foreground sand, scooting closer. That's cool, but it's feeling a bit too blocking. Scooting it over to try and get the falling sand on the edges and trying to mirror it, but the second one doesn't want to fit. Not feeling like it's in the right spot. Flipping it around and trying again. Now I'm just seeing some dirt dust in the upper corner, and no falling sand. I'm not sure what I want to do about that, but I want to twist my character a little to be at an angle. Now I knew I wanted to use the time-bending staff with the pose. But this is the glider challenge, so I also kinda wanted to use the flying pose. So I wanted to use a transition, going from the time-bending staff into the flying pose, and took the shot mid-transition, to catch both. And I liked that, but I didn't like the top of the hourglass and most of the columns showing, so I wanted to try a lower angle. To do that, I went back into selfie mode, crouched, then uncrouched, and switched back into the second camera mode immediately. And I wasn't sure. It felt like my character was too high up, and there was way too much space on the bottom. Getting rid of the foreground sand fountain, since it wasn't really working, and adding the Vizier's alchemy table, to try and push the camera forward instead. Adding the imagination generator, as I thought the sparks could be a cool effect. And it really felt like I should have some statues on the left, since there were so many on the right, so I added Hades. Which didn't really help lessen the Zeus versus Hades vibe, but he felt the most fitting over there. Checking at a better angle. Not bad. I wasn't sure about the sparks, but I wanted to add some lights to the background. So I added the lamppost with blue light on the right, and had trouble finding the red version for the left. Added a bunch, as I really wanted it to glow back there. Adding some dead Forgotten Lands trees to help mirror the stone vines on the other side. Grabbed a frozen one, which was shorter, but I didn't like the snow on it. So I tried finding the shorter Forgotten Lands version, and swapped them in. Dropping some items I thought would be fun to add. Getting back into position. Adding a few ancient plates for the crumbling ruins vibe. Scattering in some gravel, and some volcanic rocks. Added some broken weapons by Hades' statue, and a broken sword near the front. Checking how that's looking. And with this closer shot, you can't really see the extra hourglasses, so getting rid of them. The character is feeling more centered, and I like the additions on the left, but it's feeling like it's missing something, and you can't really see the sparks from the generator. So I want to try using the time-bending station in the foreground, to see if I can get those floating rocks in the shot. Checking if that helped, and you don't see them. Getting rid of them, and swapping the alchemy table for a fir tree, to try out a different angle that requires a taller object to be pushing the camera forward. The looking down angle is interesting, but I like the normal angle better. Testing out a night shot. Not really feeling it. Trying fog, which is kinda cool, but switching over to sunset, and I like that, but I want to adjust the sand fountains and the lights, as there are gaps on the edges I want to fill in. So, shifting the sand fountains and scooting some lights down. Adjusting them on the left as well, and adding a tree to the foreground, as I thought it could be cool to have it edging into the corner of the shot. Adding a stone vine on the other side, checking how that's looking. And you can't see either of them. Scooting them in closer. Checking if that helped. Not really. Scooting the vine a little further up. Getting rid of some of the pathing, so I can move the tree. The vine is seeable, but the tree isn't. Moving it aside and trying a thorn vine instead. Getting rid of more pathing to get it closer. Checking how that looks. Maybe a little too close, scooting it back. Still too close, backing it up a little more. Better. But I want to move the stone vines behind the columns instead, to match the other side better. And adjust the lights, as it's feeling a bit bright on the right side, and the left feels like it's missing some lights. So, adjusting the sand fountains, to make a little more room for the vines. A little more fountain adjusting, scooting some things a little bit, shifting the lights, trying to figure out which lights I need to move on the left, and promptly moved the wrong ones. And the right side was feeling like it needed something, so I wanted to try and add some clouds. Dropping a few more items I thought would be fun to add, getting back into position. Adding some bones to the left, trying to get a better angle, adding some bubbles to put some items in, scattering them around on both sides. Adding some evergems to the bubbles on the right, scattering in some moss, adding a bunch of red buttons for sparkles in the foreground, to try and hide the gap between the paths, and hoping it might look a bit like glittering sand. adding a broken sword to the bubble, and some more volcanic rocks. Adding some lower bubbles, more rocks and evergems, adding a couple star sapphires, checking how that's looking. Not in the right spot, scooting forward. A little more. Better. I like the added items, but Hades' statue is getting lost in the back, so I want to try pulling it forward and maybe add the lance/blade statue on the other side to mirror it. Swapping the broken sword out for another volcanic rock, since you can't really see the sword, pulling Hades' statue forward, grabbing Lance's statue, checking how that's looking. I'm not sure. Something's feeling off. I wanted to try and add more greenery to the right, so I grabbed the leaf pile rug and scattered it around, and decided I didn't like the Lance statue, so I got rid of it, and moved the Hades statue back to about where it was. Moved the clouds to the back as they were starting to bother me, added a few vine lamps, and tried to add a large sunlit rock for the bones, but it didn't want to go on the pathing. So I cleaned up some of the path on the edge and scooted it in, hoping it would be seen there, but it was at the edge, so I wasn't sure. And changed my mind, and decided to try Hades' statue by the chair again. Better. I like the leaf pile rugs, and it's feeling better without the clouds. But Hades is blocking the chair too much, so I need to move him back. And I want to try to add some trees to the right to get a bit more green over there, and fill in the skyline. So I scooted Hades back, shifted the bubbles around a little, added another leaf rug, and went looking for a nice green tree. I liked the look of the tall maple, so I tried that one, trying to see if it's at a good height or too tall. Scooting it back a little, and figured I'd leave it for now and see how it felt in camera mode when I checked later. Adding some frozen dead bushes, or trying to, but they don't like pathing. Still not enough room. Cleaning up a little more. Nope. Scooting some objects. Still no. Little more. And it fits. Adding another bush next to the chair, and making room for another one in the back. Adding another ancient plate, scooting it a little, and decided I wanted Hades to be a little more to the left, so shifting things around to make room for him. Filling in the pathing, adjusting some items. More adjusting, switching which side the bones are on to help cover the big patch of empty sand. Better, but I want to adjust the sword and the bones a bit more on the left, and add another tree to the right. Shifting the sword, and scooting the bones around. Adding another tree, but I wasn't sure if I wanted it to completely block off the skyline, so moved it in front instead, checking how it's looking, and you can't see the tree. Scooting it back a little. Better, but I want more leaf rugs on the right, and more magma on the left. So, scooting the rug a bit, and adding another magma on the left. Scooting the bubble a smidge. Can't really see the moved leaf rug, and I want to see what adding another tree would look like. So, adding another leaf rug, and another tree, checking how that looks. I like the added tree, but I kind of want to adjust the stone vine in the back, since you can't even see the one behind the chair. So I tried to add another stone vine, but it didn't fit. So I tried scooting the one that was there. It didn't want to move. So, scooted the lights a bit to move the fountain, so I could adjust the stone vine. Still couldn't move it much. So I moved the bubble, then I could move the vine. And since the bubble in the front right corner isn't even in the shot, I scooted it over, removed the gem, and added a miniature sun, because I thought that could look cool. Checking how that's looking. And I like that. But it's feeling a little dark on the right, so I wanted to add some table chandeliers to help brighten it up. So I got rid of the vine lamp, that wasn't showing in the shot anyway, and grabbed a table, and added the chandelier of the deep, since I feel like it is one of the brighter chandeliers, scooting it forward, and adding another one, since I can always get rid of it if it's too much, and that's feeling a little better. But Hades is feeling a little hidden back there, so I want to scoot him over a little, and scooting the leaf rug a little too. Also, that lower bubble on the left side is too overlapping with the others, so scooting it. Too crowded over there. Moving it to the back. Now you can't see it, but that's feeling a little better, though the chairs aren't feeling evenly placed. So I want to scoot the left one closer, adjusting all of the items in front of it to scoot it forward, and moving Hades' statue a bit too, moving the broken weapons to move the statue a little more. And finally realized my lights on the left needed to move, pulling a bunch of them closer, checking how that's looking. Better, but the staff is blocking Hades, so I want to move him closer, and maybe add a red memory orb decoration to mirror the miniature sun on the other side, So, scooting a bunch of items to move Hades' statue closer, moving the magma in front, and changing my mind immediately. Move the rock out of the bubble and grab the red decorative memory. I like that, but the red memory needs to move over a little to match the placement of the sun on the other side. So, scooting that over, and moving the lights behind Hades to help him stand out a little as he's blending in a little bit. Move the memory a little too much, scooting it. Better, but Hades is still blending in back there. So, making some room, cleaning up some of the pathing, and adding a thorn vine behind him. Hoping the splash of dark will help him stand out, and you can't even see it. Scooting it. Maybe a little better. Scooting him over a little, making a little more room, and swapping in a tree instead. A little better? But I'm starting to feel like the fog effect might be a bit too strong, so I want to try a transition with it. Starting with clear skies, and taking the shot before it gets fully foggy. And I like that. Hades is a bit more hidden than I would have liked, and it might have gone a little too Zeus versus Hades, or life versus death, instead of being more time-focused, but otherwise I'm pretty happy with how it came out. And for those who might be wondering, this shot got rank 49. If you're curious, it took over 2.5 hours to do this snap. I'll leave a link to the site in the description in case you want to check it out, or join me for the next challenge. Thank you for watching the video, please like it if you found it at all helpful, and subscribe if you want to see more like this.